Hey folks, and welcome to this video in the Rhapsody Power Pack series. I'm Andy Lapping, and in this video I'll introduce you to the context pattern editor. Context patterns in Rhapsody are extremely powerful in creating custom tables and queries, but they are something of a black art to write. Even if you understand the pattern matching language, it's all plain text and it's very easy to get it wrong. Now, it's worth noting, by the way, that the profile builder allows you to model context patterns and use them to automatically generate tables, layouts, and even custom model browsers. And there is a video on it in that video series. The context pattern editor, on the other hand, is a tool to let anyone create or edit a context pattern on their queries and table layouts in any model. Here in Rhapsody, I'm using one of the sample models included in the Rhapsody Power Pack. Now that has some sample model data, along with a bunch of table layouts and queries, all of which have context patterns, all of which were created by the context pattern builder. And those are great examples of all of the various aspects of context patterns. If I open the Power Pack Help, and then go to Helpers and Context Pattern Editor, this helper is of course fully documented, but it also includes a tutorial on the context pattern language itself. Okay, let's see it in action. Now we can launch the editor from either a table layout or from a query. Let's add a new table layout into this model, and then we can launch the context pattern editor from it. Now there are default patterns for empty queries and empty table layouts, which you can change in properties. But here's the default. For table layouts, we get two tokens, the project and then all of the packages in the project. Now note that the project doesn't have a name. That's an indicator that we don't want to capture it as a table column, but we do want to capture the package, and we've given that token a short name of PKG. Now each row in the table will be a token in the resulting context pattern. Let's add a new one now. Now there are three types of token that we can add. Metaclasses are base terms like package, but also new term stereotypes, all of which are read from the model, and again in properties you can customize where the tool looks for those elements. Relations are predefined context pattern tokens like from and to and references and so on. Lastly, plugin allows you to call external Java plugin helpers to perform complex processing of the model and return tokens to the pattern. Now there are a couple supplied out of the box like get incoming dependencies, but it's also very easy to add your own, and this sample model has an example of how to do that, including an Eclipse project. Let's build our pattern using Metaclass. In the token field, we can now select from the list of metaclasses. Pressing a letter on the keyboard will jump to that point in the list. For example, if I press B, then it jumps to the start of the metaclasses starting with that letter. Now I can use the mouse or the keyboard to select a token. Let's select block. Notice when I select a token, if the name field is empty, then the helper auto-populates a name based on the token, unless it's a query pattern where names aren't used. If I want a different name, I can simply edit it directly in that cell. Clicking Preview will give us a preview of the pattern in the Rhapsody output window. Clicking Apply will do the same thing, but it will also apply it to the query or table layout. If we look at the features for this layout, there on the overridden properties, we can see the pattern that's been applied. Let's now switch to the Columns tab, and we'll have Rhapsody auto-populate the columns from the named tokens. And now we can use Rhapsody's Create View feature to create a table from that layout. Double-clicking a table will open it for viewing. Now, since the scope of the table is by default project, we're seeing every package in the model. Let's change that in the features view for the table. Let's change it to only look in the model package. Now we can refresh the table, and there are packages and blocks that are under that model package in the browser. Okay, let's edit the pattern again. We'll add another row. And this time, instead of the simple combo box, we'll click Open Metaclass Token Picker, which gives us a list of the metaclasses, and we can filter that using a regular expression simply by typing into the filter field. Let's select Operation. Now we can also select multiple elements. Let's change that filter and let's select Value Property. Now notice there is a preview of the token at the top. This one is Operations or Value Properties. Let's apply that, and we'll also apply that pattern to the table layout. Now since we've added a new token, let's go back to the table layout and we'll have Rhapsody add it as a column. Now if we refresh the table, there is a new column for Operations or Value Properties. Next we can apply constraints. Let's select the constraint type for the block token. Now there are various types of constraint we could use, and they are all fully documented in the PowerPack help. But let's start with a simple one. Let's use name. Now, selecting that as the type turns the constraint cell into a text field where we can type in a comma-separated list of basic strings or regular expressions. Let's type a capital B and then inside square brackets any digit between 0 and 9. Let's apply that and refresh the table, and there we have a shorter set of results. Let's try a different one. Let's try stereotype. Now here we can type a name if we want to, or we can select from a list of stereotypes that exist in the model, and there is a filterable picker for that too. Let's use task. Again, we'll apply it and apply the pattern and then refresh the table, and now we can see only one of our blocks is stereotyped task. Now if we don't want a constraint, we can simply select the blank option in the picker. Alright, let's use something a little more interesting. Let's filter out any packages that don't have blocks in them. To do that, we're going to create a look ahead. And to do that, we're first going to create a pattern for it. So let's click Add Pattern. Now this is a context pattern in its own right, and it can be as simple or as complex as you need it to be. This one is very simple. We want one token, which is simply block. Now back on the main pattern, let's use the contains constraint, this time on the package token. Now if we use that constraint type, the picker shows us any available child patterns we've created. Let's choose that P1 pattern that we just made. Again, we'll apply it and we'll refresh the table, and now only packages that have blocks are returned, followed by the blocks, followed by their operations and value properties if they have them. We can even take a pattern from one layout or query and reuse it on another layout or query. Let's create a new query in the model, and then in the editor I'll click Change Selection. Now notice that the title of the form tells me where this pattern I'm editing will be applied. So let's apply it straight away. Now note that the editor is smart enough to know that queries don't use named tokens, so the generated pattern doesn't contain them. If I double click the query, it will run as a search, and we can see the results in the search panel. Now I'm going to delete one of these rows. Let's delete the operations and value properties row, and we'll add a new one for dependencies. Let's apply it, and then we'll rerun the query. And there are the dependencies of the blocks. Now we can capture the element at the end of the dependency instead of the dependency itself by simply selecting target. Lastly, let's get the owner of that target element. And for that, let's use some Java. Let's add a row and we'll select plugin as the type. In the token field, we can then choose one of our plugin methods. Let's choose getOwner. Applying the pattern and rerunning the query gives us the owners now of those dependency targets. Now by default, queries based on context patterns only return the model elements that match the final token in the pattern. We can override that by choosing the tokens we want captured. Let's capture both the dependency target and the owner. Now, of course, you can edit existing patterns too. If I close this editor and then relaunch it, it passes the pattern text in the overridden property and presents it in the editor, and we can now carry on editing. Well, that's it for this video. Over the course of this series, we'll explore the rest of the Rhapsody Power Pack features that will greatly improve your Rhapsody user experience. So please do subscribe if you want to be notified as those videos get published. But for now, thanks for watching.